Finally. A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab was such a fun book to read. This book follows two protagonists, one of which being Kel, and Kel has a magical coat. He has a coat that he can turn inside out an infinite amount of times and pull out a different coat, whether it be more classy or more ragged, and I just find that really cool. Put it on my Christmas list. I really want a magical coat. Now, believe it or not, a magical jacket is not the most exciting thing about Kel. Kel is an Antari. An Antari is a type of very rare mage. Actually, there's only one other in the world.
Does not compute.
Besides Kel, there is only one other Antari out there, and Antari have the ability to travel between different Londons. That's right, this book gets cooler. There is different Londons in this book. There is Grey London, which is the London in this world, the actual London. And in this book, it takes place in 1819 in Grey London. And then there's also Red London. Red London is where Kel is from, and this is probably the coolest London. I think most people are going to like this one the most, just because it's more vibrant and magical and beautiful, and it's the most prosperous London out of all of them. This London has sort of like a flowery smell, and the Thames River is glowing a bright, vibrant red because it's like overflowing with magic, and it's just lighting up the whole city. There's a kingdom here. Actually, Kel is a member of the royal family. He's the adopted son of the royal family, and he has a close relationship with his brother, who is Prince Rai. Throughout history, the Antari have always been used by the royal family to deliver messages and basically just to do their bidding. Moving on, there is also White London. White London is a lot more vicious than Red London. White London is like this frozen tundra, and the people there are just as cold as the landscape. The magical essence here is not as strong as it is in Red London, so the people of White London are very power hungry. They're trying to get any amount of magic that they can, and White London is ruled with an iron fist by this pair of twins who are just very, very brutal. And in White London is where the other Antari is. I will talk about him a little bit later. And then there's Black London. And Black London has basically been sealed off. No Antari can travel there anymore. It has been locked down because it's kind of like destroyed. In this London, people abused magic, and it just went rampant and destroyed the world and killed everybody in it. So that's why it's locked off from the public, from the Antari, I mean. Like, I wouldn't want to go there. Okay, now hold up. I said there was a second protagonist. The second protagonist is Lila, and Lila lives in Grey London. She doesn't really have any family left. She's basically a street urchin. She has to be a thief to survive, and her dream is to one day become a pirate. Now, when Lila was first introduced, I really liked her character. She seemed like a lot of fun, and she is a great addition to this book, but there were a few parts where I felt like she was a little bit flat. There wasn't as much depth there. There was a few parts where she definitely seemed like she was trying to act too cool, but I still really liked her character. Lila eventually runs into Kel and ends up teaming up with Kel, but really this doesn't actually happen until almost halfway through the book, and this is where I felt the pacing was a bit off with this book. It took a little while to set the scene and to get the world building all done. It wasn't a hassle to read it all, it was still very smooth, and I really enjoyed reading the beginning, but it took a while for the plot to set in motion. And speaking of the plot, I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil anything, but basically, Kel, his one way to rebel against the King and Queen of Red London is that he breaks one of the rules, and he smuggles things, little trinkets, from all the different Londons. But one day he is kind of set up, and he ends up getting his hands on this black stone from Black London. And after a while, we discover why there is a rule of not bringing trinkets from different Londons.
It's bad. It's bad.
It's catastrophic. So after Kel is in possession of this token from Black London, he flees to Grey London, and this is where he runs into Delilah Bard. And since Delilah Bard is kind of a thief, she ends up pickpocketing him and stealing this item from Black London. And this ends with Kel getting the stone back, but on the terms that Lila is able to go on an adventure with him and to travel to a different world. She's really bored of Grey London. Now, one last character I want to mention is Holland, and Holland is the second Antari who lives in White London. And Holland actually ended up being one of my favorite characters throughout this book, even though he wasn't really a huge part of the book, and he doesn't really make the best first impression. The thing is, Holland is being controlled by the Dane twins, the two twins that are controlling White London. They basically have this way of putting a seal over somebody and mind controlling them. All of their guards are mind controlled, and Holland is being controlled by them to do their bidding, so he doesn't really have any free will. Like I said, we do not see a whole bunch of Holland in this book. What we do see is kind of the more antagonist side of him because he's being controlled, and he ends up getting in quite a few fights. The fighting scenes in this book are so cool. The system is set up where it's elemental based, so a lot of the fight scenes remind me of something from like Avatar: The Last Airbender, and that is just so cool and so fun to read. Overall, I really enjoyed A Darker Shade of Magic, and I would recommend it if it sounds like your type of book. I just really like the idea of traveling to different worlds. And the magical coat, I still want to get one of those. Also, can we just take the time to appreciate this beautiful cover? This is one of my favorite covers on my bookshelf. Now, I'd also like to mention that I buddy read this book with my Goodreads group, Get Captured in Words. I will leave a link down below if you want to join this group and read along with the books we're reading. If you're new, then make sure to click that subscribe button. I will leave a link to all of my social media stuff down below, and I will see you guys in my next video.